Welcome back to Unshaken, our new series, a podcast from Hack Your Thoughts. This is episode 48, and this is part two of our special Unshaken series, Anchoring Yourself in a World That Shakes You. In part one, we explored what it means to be grounded in truth, in presence, and in your own story, especially when the world feels so chaotic. Tonight, we're going deeper into something that affects every one of us: your body, your nervous system, and the way it responds. Because the truth is, your body isn't lying. And when we begin to understand its signals, we stop feeling like we're falling apart, and we start recognizing that we're being invited to come back to ourselves. Tonight on the show, we have Dr. Eubulus Timothy, who's also my brother. So I'm excited to have him on as my guest. He's here to help us understand that. But before we dive into that conversation, I want to talk to you directly. You are not too sensitive. You are not broken. You're not overreacting. That tightness in your chest, the shallow breathing, the emotional fatigue, this isn't drama, it's data. Real signals from a real system doing its job. Your body is speaking, but most of us have been so trained to override it, to dismiss the signals, to power through the exhaustion, to smile and say, I'm fine, while our inner world is quietly falling apart. Does that resonate with you? This episode is an invitation to return to the wisdom of your body, to learn that stress isn't weakness, it's intelligence. It's not something to push past, it's something to pay attention to. If we want to be unshaken in the world, it starts with, stop fighting our own bodies and start partnering with our bodies. Because your body isn't betraying you, it's trying to protect you. Intrigued? There's more after this quick break with Dr. Eubulus Timothy. Don't go away. Welcome again. This is Unshaken, a podcast from Hack Your Thoughts. Again, I'm Chloe Timothy, and in this series, we're exploring what it takes to stay grounded in a world that won't stop shaking. Don't forget to follow, to subscribe, and share this episode with someone you care about. Now, let's just get into it. I'm truly honored tonight to have and to welcome Dr. Eubulus Timothy, my brother, to the show today. He's an aesthetic dental surgeon and an implantologist and an award winning film director whose work helps people regulate from the inside out. His approach blends science, spirituality, and reality, and he teaches this one essential truth: your body isn't an obstacle to overcome, it's a compass to help you to come home. So, Yuvi, I'm going to call you Yuvi because that's what I'm so familiar with. Welcome to our Unshaken series.
Thank you very much, Chloe. It's such a pleasure to be here. You do know I'm in South Africa in the dark.
Yeah.
You look at my window in the background, and it's early in the morning. But the sun will rise just now, and while we're talking, you'll hear the birds who will start their morning songs, which run in about a few minutes' time. You'll hear them starting in the background. So it's such a pleasure. And I am so glad that you decided to allow me to be part of your amazing journey that you do with these amazing podcasts. And I really enjoy them, not only when I'm on them, but all of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled to have you and to be in this kind of environment Because usually we're on the phone, we're just chatting away about this, that, and the other about life, and be so real with each other. So um, let's see what's going to come out of our conversation today. So let's begin here. What does it mean when we say the body isn't lying?
Well, before I get to that point, what I want to I have a pop quiz. So, and
Okay.
all of you that are listening out there, I'm going to ask three questions now, and then I'll ask those same three questions at the end. So, the first question is stress normal? So, is stress normal? Um, is pain? Um, does pain really exist? And that's the question. Does pain exist? And can happiness be synthesized? So those are the three questions. Is stress normal? Does pain exist? And can happiness be synthesized? And from there, we will start. So you want to ask the question again?
Okay. All right. So the questions from what I just want to call that back. Is stress normal? Does pain exist? Can happiness be synthesized?
Yes.
Right. So, what does it mean when we say the body isn't lying?
Well, our body is, when we talk about our body, we talk about our physical body. But in essence, what are we speaking about is our brain. This 3 pounds of meatloaf that's sitting on the top of our head that controls everything. And what does it lie or does it tell us the truth? Now, our body responds to what the brain tells it to do. And the brain is there, it's one of the most self centered, selfish thing that you could ever find in our known universe. All it does is there to look after itself. And sometimes it gives us pleasure, and sometimes it keeps us alive and does amazing things and crazy things. So the brain is what controls our body at all times. So there's so much that is happening to us while we are awake. What we think we are thinking and what we are actually thinking and what the brain is thinking are three different things at all times.
Say that
And
again.
so
What's the
what
three different things?
what we are thinking, what
Yeah.
we think we are thinking, and what the brain is thinking are completely different. Very rarely are we in alignment because the brain has got so much of other things to worry about other than what you think is important at that point.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because the brain is in complete control of the being, it's taking in all this information. We have all these senses that are being fired upon. And so, just from a very basic, we look at the five senses, and we look at how we respond to those five senses. you know um, this taste, this touch, this smell, this sight. Now those four are three are controlled by tongue, nose, uh, your body, with your hands, whatever part that you're being touched or touched, and your eyes. And then, of course, the last one is sound. Sound is different. Sound, there's more than one parts that bring you sound. When you hear the sound through your ears, the first thing that happens is that your eyes are now directed to that sound.
Hmm.
You see, so it's not just your 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 hearing, because again, so there's two things that are happening. First, you hear something, then you look. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's Chloe. And that's how we respond. But then, when you look at somebody's face, we look at the eyes, look at the mouth, we go back to the eyes, and we are used to that, of contacting the hearing to the eyes. Whereas we know that when we play music to unborn children, because we believe that the hearing is one of the first thing that happens, and we know a lot of information about that because the the unborn child responds to music.
Mm.
Same thing they say when you die. They say that one of the last things to go is hearing. And we have stories of people who've had near-death experiences on operating theaters, and while they were resuscitating the patient, the doctors were talking about their personal lives, and then the patient would get up and say, "Oh, I hope your golf is gets better," because he was talking about golf, And they say, "How did the patient know?" Because they heard it. So we
Mm.
never, in the operating theater, we never talk about unnecessary things because we have to assume that the patient may be able to hear.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so hearing the senses are how we are driven as a being,
Hmm.
and how our places. So our body will experience things,
Yeah.
and then it'll start telling us things, and how we respond to that. Do we respond in the way that we are receptive of what our body is saying, or are we trying to override it with our own personal thoughts in the conscious space?
Mm.
Because subconsciously we are being told certain things by our body. We get tired, we get over enthusiastic, we get sad, we get happy. We go through the emotions again, and how that affects us and how our body responds to our emotions. And each and every one responds to the same stimuli differently. You know, if I had to get 10 people out there and you stick their fingers in a plug, electric plug, each one will respond to it differently, that shock. Although it's the same shock, some people will scream and bring the house down, others will
Mm.
go, and everything in between. It's the same response. It's the same stimulus, yet we respond to it differently. So
Mm.
our body responds in the way it is being taught to respond, because from the time we were born till the time that we are now sitting here, our our experiences mold how our body tells us what is happening.
Yeah,
Does it
that's
lie?
fascinating. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, that's fascinating. So let's come back. Let's come to stress. Let's talk about stress. Many of us override or ignore the stress signals when it's
Yes.
happening. Where does this conditioning, you said, experience, but where does the actual conditioning come from? What are the consequences of doing that long term?
Well, let's come back to that first question, right? Does Is stress normal? And the question is yes. Stress is a normal phenomenon of the body. It keeps us alive. If a car is going to come and knock you, you go into a stress response and you will jump out of the way.
Hmm.
And everything changes in your body, and then within a few seconds, you come back to normal. So stress is normal. It keeps us alive. Unfortunately, we live in a different time. In the old days, if you've been attacked by an animal, you run, you attack the animal, or you go looking for food, you have to go and kill to get the food. But today, you don't do that. Our stress is very, very different. So we, again, now coming back to what we think we are stressing about and what we're actually stressing about.
Mm.
Today we live in a time when uh, personal information is uttermost. We will do anything and everything to protect our personal information. We are worried about whether we will survive this month, whether we will have things to do, whether we'll have a job, so everybody is stressed because of circumstances. Whatever the circumstances, do you have a job? You worry about your family, you worry about your job at your work, you worry about your finances, you worry about going to work in the morning, traveling. Some people travel long distances. Some people travel by bus or by train, or by car in the traffic. So all these things become stressful,
Mm.
but it is in the background. It is chronic stress. So stress is good, but chronic stress is bad. Chronic stress is there non-stop. Now we all know when you're stressed out, cortisol is released. Now, now cortisol is being released slowly all the time. And we know what happens when too much of cortisol in your body. It's not good. And so, stress, though it keeps us alive, chronic stress slowly destroys us.
Mm.
Do you get that?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Mm. It's overtime. So, can you break down, the way the body responds to stress and what we need to understand about, how we fight, whether we fight or flight or freeze or fawn responses? Break it down a little bit so everybody, everybody understands what is happening in the body, what is happening in the brain.
Mm. Well, it's as soon as your body
Before you
perceives.
continue, when we were talking, you and I were talking offline, you talked about the subconsciousness, and I was sharing about how, my book, and how the brain is like a data center. It's
Yes.
holding all this information that we don't know. You also alluded to it earlier on, that all our experiences are there, and that's informing how we're responding. Like, you put your finger in a plug, I may scream, so somebody may just go ouch, so how how does the body uh, how is it responding to stress? What does that
Well,
look like?
well. See, I mean, for example, you put your hand on a plate, um, and every day you touch plates and you don't get burnt or anything, and then suddenly one day you touch a hot plate and you go, "Ouch!" You know, um,
Mm,
and it's hot. What you experienced there happened in a fraction of a second. So when you touch that hot plate, you have a temperature receptors on your tips of your fingers and your hand and all over your body, and pressure. So when you touched it, that temperature went up to the brain. From your hand, it went all the way up here, went to the spine. At the spinal cord, it jumped onto another spinal nerve supply, went all the way up to the thalamus, and the thalamus received it and said, "Oh my goodness, what is happening here?" And then the thalamus sends that information to the front part of the brain, which is the frontal lobe. It sends it to the parietal and sends it all over the place. And then you work out, have I experienced this before? Uh,
mm,
what is this? Is this? And then he makes a decision. Is at all times the brain will make a decision. Is my life in danger?
mm.
You see, am I am I
Like,
am I
yeah,
going to? So at all times, and then based on that, it'll come back and say, "Oh no, it's just a plate. It's hot." You go, "Ouch, it's fine."
yeah,
And yeah, and it's, "Oh, it's burning a bit." And then you think about what? Oh, I can put some butter, or I gotta put some
yeah.
cream. The things that you suddenly now to how quickly from where you were, and but all that happened in a fraction of a second. That
Mm,
your brain suddenly made that decision, and it had to then, based on past experience, oh, I touched hot plates before, but this was slightly hotter.
mm.
You know, um, uh,
So earlier you talked about people, they responding. What makes some people fight backs? What makes some people freeze?
ah,
What makes, flight? What causes all of that?
you
Why?
know, there's a saying. There's a saying. When you marry somebody,
Yeah.
you are marrying their childhood. You're not marrying the person what you're seeing in front of you. And our childhood defines who we are, how we respond, how we go forward in almost everything we do. And it's today we live in a very, very, very difficult time, and because of that, uh, childhood trauma is coming more and more to the fore, and it's called complex PTSD. We saw that in real time when Will Smith did what he did at the Oscars for the whole world to see. This is an A-list actor whose life is controlled by lawyers and agents and managers and assistants and PR companies. And yet, at that very point, he lost it.
Mm.
And when we see those things and we understand why would somebody respond the way they did, why he did, and then you find out in his book that his father used to beat up his mother, and as an 8-year-old boy, he couldn't do anything to help. Then you saw that years later, his wife tells him that she's having an affair, and this is an A-lister, and he had to smile, and there's nothing much he could do. And then he goes to the Oscars, and then suddenly Chris Rock makes a great comment about one of Hollywood's greatest creations, G.I. Jane, a strong, independent woman who will take nothing, no for an answer, and do what she needs to do. And that's a great compliment. Yet when he laughed at it, and it was good. And then he saw his wife's smirk, took him back, not to what she said, took him back to his dad.
Mm.
And then he got up and he did what he couldn't do when he was 8 years old. He
Mm.
hit the man in front of him.
Yeah.
And that
Wow.
shows you how complex PTSD affected somebody in their life who is completely in control of their life. And so you see, you don't know how your past affects your present,
Mm.
redefining your future. And
Yes.
and we know now, in my opinion, there are three types of complex PTSD. Um, we tend to concentrate on the sexual part of it and the abuse part of it, but there is neglect.
Mhm.
Neglect means that when the child is young, even as a baby, even days old, the child is neglected because maybe the parents are drug addicts or distorted or just not able to concentrate on what they need to do, or they have work and then they leave the child alone and abandoned. So the child feels neglected. Then abandonment. Now we see this a lot, in the old days when a woman had postpartum depression. What would happen? The child would be sent to a grandmother or an auntie or somebody else in the family who does not have children to look after that child. And what we see now with the research that's been done on twins, if one child is kept behind and the other one is sent, invariably the one that was sent away, even if it's for days or weeks or years, that child is prone to complex PTSD because that child was abandoned.
Mm.
And then the last one is abuse. And this is emotional abuse, watching somebody else being abused or experiencing it, physical abuse, watching somebody else being physically abused or experiencing, and sexual abuse, watching somebody else be abused or actually experiencing yourself. And so these are the major things that happens in childhood that we tend to forget about, and that
Mm.
gets pushed far back into our brain, into our mind, and it sits there controlling everything. And
And
one of
that
the things,
becomes the operating system.
yes, and now what happens is that they have the fear of fear.
Yeah.
They forget the actual trauma because it's too difficult to bear,
Yeah.
but they remember the fear that was attached to that trauma. And so that I remember when Terence passed away, our
Yeah.
brother.
Mm.
It was in a car accident, and we all drove very slowly for a couple of weeks.
Mm.
We were very aware how we drove because he died in a car accident. After a while, we went back to normal.
Mm.
That fear of the car, of an accident, was imminent in our brain at all times. And after a while, it got extinct. So we have, as humans, the ability to extinct fear
Mm.
so that we can survive. But some people can't. They can't extinct fear. The fear, and so the fear remains, and it's attached to some sort of trauma in the past, which we have now blocked, and you cannot experience it, but it's there. And then little triggers come along. It
Mm,
could be anything,
mm,
anything. The way somebody smiles at you, the way somebody didn't smile at you, the way somebody looked at you, the way somebody didn't look at you, the sudden smells and things like that bring you back. And I'll talk about the smell just now. Bring you back to the fear, but not the event.
yeah.
And so I'll give you an example how it works. Uh, our grandmother, we call Amma,
Right.
used to use Pond's cream. And Pond's,
Mm,
I don't know if you have it there,
yeah.
but it's this amazing cream that you still have. We still have it around now today.
Mm,
And I used to go and buy it from for her from the store down in Queen Street. And today, if I see an ad for Pond's, or if I smell Pond's, immediately, within a fraction of a second, I think of my grandma. I think of Amma. And within a few seconds, not even a few seconds, within microseconds, I remember her smile, the little tattoo that she had on her forehead. I remember the way she dressed, the way she walked, the food she made, her smell. All that in a fraction of a second, when I saw something that's completely not related to her, but it is in a roundabout way, the Pond's cream. Now that is really an amazing, and it's a happy, and it's a warm emotion that it comes to me. But now think about other people who have had bad experiences that were done to them over and over and over, and some small thing triggers that, and so they go back to that state. They remember the fear. They blocked the experience, the action that happened that day, but they remember the fear, and the fear overwhelms them.
mm,
So there's certain things they do. They run, or they cower, or they fight back, or they become difficult, and that affects how they become as a human being. And people say, oh, but that person is such a nice person. Pity about their anger issues, or pity about their fear. Fear that suddenly they're here, next minute they're gone, and it affects their relationships.
mm,
You know, and they go and find, they look for that sort of relation. If there was an abusive person, they will try and find an abusive person uh, that they get attached to, and then of course that there'll be failures, and that the marriages fail, the relationships fail, because they keep looking for what they think is normal.
yeah. Yeah.
You see, when
So,
somebody comes there and is nice and loving and caring, and does all the things that one should do, oh no, there's something wrong with that person. I can't deal with that. I don't know how
yeah.
to deal with that. That's not no, no, no. What's wrong with that person? Oh, this person now, is abusive and crude and loud and obnoxious. Oh no, I understand that. Violent. Oh, I understand that,
Mm,
because that's what they experience. And so your childhood, your past, tends to define who your present, what your present is.
mm. So I know we are at time, and I'm going to have you back on the show next week. So for people that have had these experiences, and all of us have had some type of bad experience. Some of us may think we don't, but we're so pushed in the far archives of our mind that we don't even want to remember, like you said. We remember the fear, we don't want to remember the actual event, the trauma, what
Hmm.
actually happened. What would be a starting point for people, especially with everything going on right now in the world, just so many things? What would be a starting point? And I know we're going to continue this next week, but what is something that you can give people to just like say, hold on to this, or this is something that you can do to unlock something inside that's going to help them through this stressful time, this whole lot of just being unshaken by everything going on.
So what I try to do is that try to make it a little bit more spiritual in the sense, but also real. And so I've divided into three parts. And so first we talk about the body, right? And your body needs rest. The most important thing that I find, most people do not spend time with themselves. They're so busy at work with their families, their children, their partners, uh, their games. Now, paddle and pickle, everybody's gone crazy about that. And that overrides everything. But they do not make time for themselves where they are the center of what they're trying to do at that moment. And so what I say is that rest your body, get enough sleep, take long deep breaths, and just breathe in slowly, count to 10 through your nose, hold it for 10 seconds, and then let it out through your mouth for 10, counting 10, then hold it for 10, and just do that 10 times wherever you are, whether you're on the tube station, or on the bus, or in your car, or at work. In a few seconds you got, just breathe deeply, fill your lungs, because what happens when you fill your lungs with oxygen, there's better oxygen perfusion, and it goes more oxygen to the brain, and your brain becomes alive. It's always about your brain. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Soak yourself in a warm bath. When last have you done that? Have something to drink, listen to some music. And so I would say that's first, rest your body. Then, secondly, concentrate on your phone, refocus your soul. Now, we can talk about what that means. It doesn't really matter. It is about refocusing, getting organized. Get more organized in your life. Everything is too bit haphazard. Get more focused. Eat healthily. Food is important. We tend to eat a lot of food that we shouldn't eat. We eat late at night when we shouldn't eat because we can't sleep, and we think, oh, maybe I should eat and it'll come right. No, it doesn't. You just put on weight. Exercise regularly, even if it's just a brisk walk, around your house or in your apartment, wherever you are. You walk for 5 minutes. Just walk, 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 walk. Doesn't matter. Go out on the street. um, you know and then the one thing that I said, is the last one, is that um, on your restore your spirit.
Mm.
Surround yourself with art, with beauty. Listen to music, because music is defines who we are as a species. We are the only species in the known universe that can create music, that can
Mm.
create art, that can create architecture, beauty. We are the only species that can create science, medical science. We can put a man on the moon. We can send a craft to go and land on a satellite far, far away, billions and billions of miles away, and it takes 10 years to get there with precision, 1 meter from the point we said we will send
Mm.
that probe, and yet we did it. And so we have that ability, you know. So, yes, write down your thoughts. Write down your thoughts. We had on the 27th of March in South Africa was 5 years since the lockdown of COVID. And we lost a lot of people. There was never closure. People got sick, they went to hospital, and they never came back. And so I decided to do something, and we at that evening at the Durban Pier, I invited people to come who lost their loved ones, to bring a rose and to throw it in the ocean and say goodbye. A little bit of a closure. And that simple act. And so I would say to anybody who's listening, if they never had closure about somebody, if somebody was mean to them, take a rose, go to a river bank, or go to the beach, ocean. Tell that person you are better than they are. Tell that person you have overcome, and nothing that they're done can ever hurt you. And throw that rose into the ocean and free yourself. Or if you lost somebody, do exactly the same. Say goodbye. Free yourself. And that's what I would say. The most important thing is that to free yourself. Drop those shackles.
Wow, that this has really, really been a powerful, deep conversation, and I'm so excited to for us to continue the conversation next week. Um, so, Yubi, thank you so much for it's such a grounding, powerful, um, just such a deep, heartfelt conversation that's real, and you made it real. So thank you for sharing your voice, your wisdom, your compassion, and you know before we uh, before we leave, and then to the listener, I want to end with a thought hack for the week. Your body is speaking. Listen to your body with compassion, not with judgment.
Mm,
Because when your body says, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I need a break, it's not trying to sabotage you.
mm,
It's trying to save you. It's
mm,
the most radical act of self-love. So not silencing your body but listening. Stress isn't weakness, like UB said earlier on. It's normal. Chronic stress is what you want to be concerned about, but stress is not weakness, it's intelligence. Your
mm.
body is trying to speak. So
And
I
I would
yield.
and I would like to end with a quote from Charlie Chaplin. I
Okay.
have many problems in my life, but my lips don't know that. They always smile. And he wrote the famous song "Smile." Smile, smile though your heart is breaking, aching. And um, if you smile, and we spoke about happiness being synthesized. If I ask you to smile, you start smiling, and within a fraction of a second, your body takes over. You
Mm,
synthesize that happiness, and you feel good. The one thing that I do all the time is when I'm walking down the road, whenever I make eye contact with somebody, I smile. And they always smile back. And you don't know what they are going through. You don't know their thoughts. But by you smiling and you invoke that happiness in their lives, you may have changed their direction in life at that very moment. Because the moment they start smiling, everything else changes in their heart and in their mind. And
mm.
that's what it is. And so I like to end with Charlie Chaplin. I wish we could play that song,
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
because
Um,
it's so relevant to us today. We do not smile.
yeah. Okay. So, UB, thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, like UB said, that's your thought hack there. Smile and let your body follow. So, in part three of our Unshaken series, we'll explore something we all need: the power to choose how we respond. Because sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is pause before you react. And we're gonna be joined by UV. He's going to be on, um, and he knows what it means to break these reactive patterns and to restore that inner choice. So if this episode spoke to you, just go ahead, hit follow, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You are not too much. You're not broken. You are simply ready to return to yourself. Until next time, stay rooted, stay tender, and stay unshaken. See you next week.